You guys kept referring
What kind
to
of
Steve.
Piccadilly whore do you take me for?
A good one?
A good
A good one. Hastings suddenly being typecast as the bad guy doesn't sound so bad. We're on our first away mission, guys.
So
Great.
excited.
We're doing it.
The Terrible Warriors is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Terrible Warriors, where Patreon supporters not only get access to bonus debrief episodes, but also to being able to listen to live recordings on our Discord channel. I'll even send you a postcard in the mail. You can even be a named member of our crew, because today on the Terrible Warriors, the crew of the USS Horizon beam over to a Klingon ship to find, well, a problem, a mystery, something that needs solving, and there's not a whole lot of time to figure it out. They'll all have to work together in the third episode of Star Trek Adventures, because they're not just the best Starfleet officers in the fleet, they're also terrible warriors. Yes, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the Terrible Warriors. The reason everyone laughs when I say yes, it's because in my intro I go, and they are the Terrible Warriors, and I throw to myself. It's a little weird. So,
Pitching to yourself.
Take it away, Justin. Thanks,
here we
Justin.
are. As you know, it's the third episode of our ongoing Star Trek Adventures series from Modiphius. We finally got to we had some tear-jerking scenes. I was like, I don't even fucking want to roll through this anymore. I just want to sit back and watch these two
You
just
did.
be
You did sit back and
melodramatic.
you
It was
just
great.
kind of this is
So
great.
we've buried the hatchet. We've now gone on to our first mission, the mystery of HR 626. This place does have a name. You just haven't discovered it yet. You'd have to head down maybe to the ruins
I
downstairs.
imagine we will. This will be great.
So you have arrived to find the KMS Drakthar, adrift above the planet orbiting the neutron star.
Yeah.
And it's things are, it was hard to get exact scans and resolutions were going on. Their life signs were failing. You've beamed aboard the ship. The captain has stayed behind, and Conal will now be playing our tactical officer, Stephen Prince, who is joining the away mission. Hashtag redshirt. And joining the away mission, our science officer, Lassa Bo, which is going to be important here, Bajoran, and our helmsman, Steve Armstrong, and our science and our chief engineer, Adam Monroe, have beamed aboard. But those are just our characters who are our players. Starting at my left, your right.
I'm Velvet Duke. I'm with the Dandies. We do Holodeck Follies, the improvised Star Trek show.
Sweet.
It's pretty cool.
I'm gonna stutter through mine now because it's such a stellar opening. My name is Conal MacBeth, better known in the nerd community as Toronto's greatest supervillain and evil genius, Dr. Tarawat. I was playing Captain Gavin Schofield. Now I'm playing Lieutenant Stephen Prince, tactical officer.
I love that your pitch has gone up.
Yeah. And he's gonna be like, "Hey guys, you guys want?
He's gonna love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, because I want to go on a space adventure with you, my friend Steve. Come on." Sorry, okay, go ahead.
I'm Brent Morris, Brent the Closet Geek. You can find me on the Showhole podcast at theshowhole.com.
And you're playing...
Oh, and I'm
we're
playing
playing the
Steve
helmsman.
Armstrong. Helmsman, I drive things.
and I'm Lieutenant Commander Adam Monroe, this Chief Engineer, played by Steve Saylor, a.k.a. the Blind Gamer.
Okay, so what we're doing is we launch right into this problem. You've opened up the door and you see there's actually what appears to at least your eyes suspended in a some kind of makeshift laboratory, because it's on a Klingon ship. It's always a makeshift laboratory because they don't have laboratories. They don't do science. Is damaged, broken, and leaking something, an orb of the prophets. Now, Conal doesn't know what that is, which is great because now I get to do a little exposition so that he and the listeners who aren't Star Trek fans understand this. We were talking about the Dominion before and the Bajoran wormhole that connects to the Gamma Quadrant.
Yeah.
Well, the wormhole is stable because it was built by an alien species called the Prophets. The Prophets are revered as gods on Bajor. About 20,000 years ago, the Tears of the Prophets, 9 of them, appeared in the sky above Bajor, and when they were collected, they provided visions and guidance believed to be given from the prophets to the Bajoran people, which built around their culture, their technology. Those were stolen by Cardassians when their planet was occupied a few centuries ago, and some of them have been returned, many of them remain missing, and there's not a whole lot known about the orbs because a lot of that oral history was also suppressed and destroyed by the Cardassians during the occupation. The orbs are connected to these non-linear super beings that live inside the wormhole that don't seem to be connected to time or space, and for some reason or other have taken an interest in the Bajoran people and an even more interest in Deep Space Nine with Commander Sisko, who has become the emissary of the prophets. We're not going to get into that kind of lore. All that's known is that the orbs are these crazy artifacts, mysterious in origin, mysterious in power capabilities, and there's not a lot known of them. At this time in the show, maybe 3 have been found and returned, and the rest remain missing. There's also no understanding of were those 9 that the Bajorans got the only tiers that the Bajorans or the prophets sent out from the wormhole. These things are ancient, and there's not a lot known about it. So when we open up the door and we see them on a Klingon ship in the middle of the Shackleton Expanse, nowhere near Cardassian or Bajoran space, that's weird.
It's a bit strange.
That's a bit strange. They each have slightly different names given to them, but those are stuff that we would have to discover. Right now, it's just big old mystery problem. You have a problem on the ship. What is happening in front of your eyes is it's not just that time is being dilated. It seems to be getting fractured. You're seeing other possibilities kind of echoing around where one Klingon is moving, you're seeing like a mirror image of his hand going in different directions. It's like every time he thinks like if something can go one way or another, we like infinite
it's like parallel
universe.
dimensions are
but it's
colliding.
kind of overlapping right now, like origami, and maybe it's quite dangerous to get into this room directly and throw yourself right into the same whatever thing they've been trapped in here. They don't seem to be succumbing to radiation poisoning, and so I'm going to answer your question in just a quick second. I'm thinking that this is going to lead into a series of roles that's going to be called an extended task, where you're going to come up with some solution or hypothesis. You have to roll to test it, and then you can give me, I think the answers to this are going to be blank, blank, or blank. And if any of those are correct, I'll go, you're on the right course. But I'm not going to tell you which one of those 3 is the correct course of action. You'll then have to roll those courses. And you can all work this particular, maybe it's an engineering solution or a science solution. Maybe you just want to get the Klingons off the ship and blow it up. Like there's, we'll talk about this more in the debrief, but there's some really cool guidance that's given to GMs to come up with outcomes.
Use the tractor beam, just gently push it into the star.
So I'm not kidding though. If that's the problem is presented, the solution is up to you and to your own specialties and also like what you want to see happen. If one of those 3 sound like one of the ideas I have, I'll let you know you're on the right track. And then you have to go through trial and error. Just roll by roll, we're going to go through this task and solve this ship and hopefully save this crew and ideally recover this orb. If this is the orb. One of the orbs of the prophets.
In true Star Trek fashion, I combadge to the horizon and report what I've just saw to the captain.
As the door opens,
it's assumed there's open comm lines here, and so
everything in there is all fucking crazy. Tactical Officer Stephen Prince looks through the door and says, "Goodness."
Is that what you're raising your hand up for?
Yes. So before anything else happens, Steve says his signature line.
Goodness.
Now, if the captain would like to do anything from the ship, if one of these solutions comes up with that, I mean, he can still roll in another scene. I don't care if you want to control both those characters.
Well,
but for the most part, you're supposed to. For the purpose of this scene on this away team, you're on board the ship, and things are going a little nuts with the comm badge and with the transporter. You'll have to get away from the epicenter to be able to freely communicate with the horizon. So what would the 4 of you like to do?
Do we see any of the ruins in the room with them, or is it strictly just this floating?
There's some stone tablets around. There's other things they brought up. There's it looks like a sample of a plant. There's looks like etchings. There's a computer that seems to be trying to scan what it is, but Klingons aren't exactly scientists. Something like this would have piqued their interest, certainly, but they don't really know what they're doing.
What do I see in my my cybernetic eyes?
You just see this energy signature coming out of the orb. You can see the radiation that's all over the ship, radiating off the bulkheads, unless shields are restored.
Is it a constant energy, or is it like pulsing, or?
It's the same signature. It's in line with what we're now seeing with the light. The orb,
So it is,
the orb is spinning, and its cracks are sending out. Like it's a steady stream, but the stream is caused by its spinning. So what this probe might have been picking up was like a lighthouse effect of this whatever this damage was sending it out.
So to everyone else, it just looks like a big ball of light, whereas I can actually see like the cracks of where.
The ball of light, we can see the cracks. I already described the cracks.
Okay, all right.
There's nothing in particular with those eyes. If you want to do further than that, we'll have to roll a task to answer more questions. It's not just going to be a gimme.
There are Klingons outside the room.
Yes.
Okay, so...
They were the ones hunched over going,
So Lieutenant Prince would
not very
then
conscious.
prioritize that we need to move these people away from the room, have them teleported back to the ship for medical treatment, and then we can try to tackle this situation.
Okay.
My priority is not them. My priority is this orb, because I see it as, whether it is or not, I believe it is one of the tiers. So I want to try and contain it in some way.
You mentioned a computer, like because the Klingons had already been trying to gather information. I want to go to the computer to try to see if I can figure out what's going on.
So here one as we go through these different tasks, and then Brent, what?
My question is it clear which, if we're going to pull out the Klingons, is it clear which one is like the actual Klingon? If things are diverting into alternate universes.
I mean, that's one where you'd have to you would need to roll to identify.
All right.
You want to ask me a question, and you can get answers by spending momentum. I can just tell you if you can do an action, but if you want to ask a question to that, that's a momentum to. It's called you can create advantages. And you can obtain information, you can create problems, you can create opportunities. So you can create advantages for other players with your scans and with helping people out. Prince is going to reach down, and when they go to try and help the Klingon, he's resisting. He's going like he's not abandoning his ship, and he starts to fight you off. He's not lucid, but he's just and he goes to try and reach for the dagger that's on the side of his uniform.
Okay, well, security plus presence, I would guess. Or no, security fitness to try and subdue this man.
Okay.
It's just calmly.
So...
Well, not calmly, but like non-lethally, like... Because he's obviously not
You can
fully
spend...
there.
Also, if you succeed, you can spend 2 momentum to disarm.
Oh.
Is an option that you have, or to you can also spend additional opportunity to avoid injuries and
I think
deal bonus
it's
damage.
too early to start spending momentum.
Yeah, we're
like
down
crazy.
to 2 momentum, by the way.
So,
Yeah, but by creating advantages and continuing to roll, you can create momentum for the rest
That's
of the
what I'm saying. Like we don't.
So we actually
don't
need to now
spend the
go
momentum.
through. So,
yeah.
Stephen,
Okay, so he got 1 under and 1 over. So we got 1 success.
okay, so you get 1 success, you won't get any momentum. The difficulty is 1, he's very weak and he's hurt. What are you trying to subdue, or are you just trying to just like hold him in and just drag him against his will?
But basically, like, while he's like trying to reach for his dagger, just be like, no, come on. All right, just drag him along.
Yeah. So you get and you bring him to the transporter site.
Right, I'll get him to the transporter.
But
Transporter pad.
I'll have this here as you can start moving those. There are 5 outside and there are 5 inside the room. You can get the 5 outside. You can start moving them there, and that's just going to happen now with the other 3. Science officer, you wanted to do scans? Just learn more. You have a question?
Could you start with somebody else? Because I
Okay.
have
Sure.
too many
I'll go
questions.
for it. As the
I'm
Klingons
I'm
attempt to...
rolling over to the scientific development here, so we can actually go and
Occasionally, one of the Klingons half-consciously tries to resist being brought into the teleportation room, and you hear Lieutenant Prince here be like, "Oi, you testicle!"
I love it. All right, yeah, I can go first. I'll go for the computer.
Okay, so you're going for the computers.
So let me just.
You're gonna. There's an added complication here. It's a Klingon ship. That's the trait in the area, and you've never served on one. So there's language barriers and unfamiliar controls. You can still work through it, but it's going to increase the difficulty by 1.
So what attribute am I rolling for this? Because I figured engineering is what I'm rolling for discipline. But what attribute? Is it control?
What attribute would make sense? Control would work to manipulate the controls. Reason might work.
I'll do reason. They're both 10.
Arguably, you can use any attribute if you can justify it to me.
Okay. I'll do reason. So it's 10, and then engineering is 5. So as long as I roll under 15, we're good.
In terms of the difficulty working with the computer, does xenolinguistics help? Or
it would help with you, but it's also like it's just an unfamiliar like layout and user interface. And that's all. It's just
okay.
So I rolled 1 under, 1 over.
Okay, so you rolled 1 under, 1 over, but the difficulty was 2. So you don't have enough successes here. You can spend momentum to purchase another die. You can use, if you have any values that are in line with this, you can use that value to spend determination to automatically get a success. Or you can get an assist from another player in the room on the computers.
Well, the only two things would be, like, the talent would be jury-rigged, but I don't know if that, like... Or
you're not jury-rigging anything.
Yeah.
And the talent is not I'm talking about values and
if you can
focuses.
Break it, if you break
focuses
it, you can
on the
fix
right can help you with getting additional die. Those
I
are
don't
the
really have
things
any values that would be relevant.
Let me see your focuses.
Would my team dynamics focus be at all helpful?
To help people out. I mean, you have computers as a focus. So that's in line with working with a computer. So roll another die.
Okay, all right. And I'm still trying to roll under the 2?
Still the same target number. Okay.
I did. So that's 2 under.
Okay, so you get the 2 successes you needed, and you begin working through. You've seen that they've uncovered this is it's a temple of Skellige, and it seems to be run. What's curious that the Klingons cannot understand is all of the tablets are written in Bajoran.
Okay. I relay that to... It is... the Klingons were able to kind of articulate that it's the Temple of Skellige?
It's Skellige. I just said it. You don't need to repeat it. We don't need to, honestly, we've got 1 hour to get through this. I want to role play, but I also don't want to inadvertently just burn out the gas we've got in our tank.
And there's a lot of Bajoran writing here. I'm certain that Poe, you would be able to understand that better than I can.
Yeah, it's one of those things to probably beam over to the ship and investigate later. But in the meantime, you have a more immediate problem here.
Interfere. So I am going to use the scientific method, and so science and reason. I'm going to roll against that. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for suggestions on how we can recontain the orb and get people out to medical safety.
If I'm on the comms for this, like comm channels are open, right? Yeah.
You're on the bridge, sort of monitoring what's going on.
Okay. I want to see if I can give you some assistance then, just through.
I have a crazy idea, but I don't know if we'll be able to do it or not. But I need to see a little bit more before I
want to see what this is
before I decide.
So let's get that initial roll here to see if you can be the research lead here and put it through.
I do have an idea.
I do get 1 success.
Yeah, that's all you needed. It was a difficulty 0, so you'll get a momentum here.
Okay,
so
great.
So you're able to now observe what's going on. Like there's no difficulty in observing. You're in the room. You've got your tricorder. You've got everything you need here. And so as you're observing the orb and the stasis that it seems to be in, the damage it's doing around you, and the fractals that it's causing, the Klingons that seem to be stuck or looping, or there's something going on here that's wonky. You're now everyone here, including Schofield over the comms. You can start spitballing ideas, and then you can present to me, the game master, 3 to 5 of those.
I do have the skill. If you can break it, you can fix it. So I assume that basically this orb broke whatever was containing it. So I feel like, and I can use my reverse engineering to know that I could fix what was containing it.
Let's in order here. Let's
Oh, sorry. I
let
didn't know
the
that-
science
okay.
officer tell you what you're dealing with, and then you can take the
then-
answers from that to
That's a
then
good idea.
innovate.
Okay.
Because you're right, all those are going to come in step in 10 minutes.
to see
Okay. All right. All
to
right.
see, to
Sorry.
see what containment systems they were using and how they failed.
Yeah, because I'm hoping that your crazy idea is going to be able to help, and then it's going to be able to create the I got an idea
Okay.
moment.
So, given what we are seeing, I think the first thing we need to do is get this orb off the ship. So either we do a site-to-site transfer of moving it, or we move the ship.
I would say, as an idea, using the readings that you have and the kind of bleed that it's giving off, you might be able to build a better containment system in the extra lab space that we have on board the Horizon. And then we can transport it directly from where it is to that containment system on the Horizon, where you can A, study it closer, B, try to fix it, and C, get it back to the Bajoran people at a later time.
I like that.
Okay.
Okay, so we
however,
got two
yeah,
ideas
yeah,
here. So
yeah.
that's two. Does anyone else want to spitball what's going on? And
Also,
then we can
once
find
it's
out.
teleported out of the room, then we can gather up the rest of the
So
material.
we got
if we can
teleport the
contain
orb
it-
off
yeah.
the ship. We got move
Yeah.
the ship.
Also, or contain, beam over containment.
But what do you
one
think
of
is-
our containment units to around it.
Moving it to maybe the horizons probably. I mean,
That's dangerous, but
That's
I
risky.
love
So
it. As a
moving-
long-term goal, I love it. But
Move
as a
the
short
containment
term,
onto their ship first.
yes.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
I like that idea.
around the orb.
That
We
is a
have
good idea.
whales here.
Is that
It's a
why it was
broken-
down
it's
on
got
the
moved.
You
Yeah.
have walked
Is it-
into a room
right.
with no information. You don't
Right.
know what has happened, and what the
'Cause we could-
research can do is can help answer those questions,
Okay.
so that
Let's
the
do that.
engineering department can then have
Yeah.
an informed
Because
decision
if we try to
on their
contain it, we have
plan.
no idea what's going to happen to the
Right.
Klingons
So
that are already
I-
stuck
If you
in
don't
that
know,
field.
you don't know what
Yeah.
the orb is
Yeah,
doing. You want to
that's
bring that
also
onto the
very
horizon,
true.
right?
No,
like we
yeah,
got quarantine
no.
procedures.
So I like your question of what is that one person in there, and we're just seeing fragmented versions of it? Is it multiple people? Is it so?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I would like to know that.
That is a damn good question.
Are we? If time is that fractured, are we seeing the current version of it?
That's a very good question too. And where, what's the threshold to if we step into it?
That's what I'm worried about. Like, I was worried when our red shirt walked in and grabbed that guy because I thought he.
Oh, no, he was
No,
grabbing
he was
from
outside.
He was
also,
outside, yeah.
Also, we were told that there are people on there are Klingons on the outside who are being affected by radiation poisoning. The people closer to are not.
Yeah.
So
There are 10 people
whether
here and
that's
we got-
many people or one
We're
person.
going to have to come up with a solution now
Yeah.
because Schofield is about to contact the away team that the flare from the storm has gone down and there's an unknown ship en route to the planet. And
Oh,
it's
shit.
going to arrive in a certain number of intervals. So you have up to this time now to figure out what you want to do before the away team needs to return to the horizon and the shields are going to have to go up. And if the shields go up and you're still on the Klingon ship, they can't bring you back. They don't.
true.
The ship
Okay, so we need to work
doesn't
fast.
have a known
Yeah.
configuration.
All right, so let's work quick.
It was shielded in the interferences from the star, and now it's coming.
I think we need to first figure out how many Klingons are actually in this room. Because we have 5 that are already transported back, but there's still 5 more left on the ship.
It's, presumably, what I would say is if we can develop a containment system, we can teleport around the orb that should shut off any interference or whatever time splitting it's
Agreed.
doing to the people
That's-
around
yeah,
there.
also
and then
fair,
we'll
yeah.
find out how many Klingons are in the room immediately after.
And
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
find out if it's them moving it that caused the crack, or if
Or
it
the,
was-
like, yeah,
Because you know the
we can
Bajorans
study
are
it
able
more
to,
once
they're
we
able
have
to
it
put them into
contained.
those little boxes which
Yeah.
stop the effects from reaching out, and so you know
It's just a bit
doesn't,
dangerous right now 'cause
doesn't
it's
take a whole
cracked.
lot to shield
Yeah.
Yes.
at least the orbs that we've observed in the past.
yes.
Try
So-
it then. I'm gonna try to give you guys an assist, like roll. I don't know.
So you're assisting the
Command
engineer then,
control.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
To build a containment thing?
I want to say here as an extended task is you want to, or do we want to? Maybe this is a gated task. What are we? What's the end result? What do we want to do?
contain this thing in a box and clean all of the remaining Klingons and artifacts out of that room.
Okay, so steps to get to that point is you need to restore ship power or provide a power source to create that containment unit, presuming you're using
Yes.
it as an energy containment. That means either getting something from the ship beamed over or jury-rigging power back to the Klingon ship.
I think with the
Go
amount of
ahead,
time that we have, jury rigging is probably the only way to do it.
And I would disagree that we need a power unit because the Bajoran boxes
Aren't powered.
Oh, they're
necessary,
powered.
Well,
or
it
they're
depends. So the
self-contained.
nature of the containment unit, then you
Yeah.
need to
It would have its own power.
you need to
Yeah.
create one. or get one. Whatever it is not here.
Right.
And whatever the Klingons were trying to use did not work.
Right.
So I'm just trying to determine here if this is this one task or is this a few where you need to accomplish one before we get to the other, and that would be they're called gated tasks. Okay. Or just
All right, well,
or we just roll. Do you want to just fucking roll for it, man?
Let's roll stuff.
You want to contain it how? Get a force field around it?
I want to get a force field from
Yeah.
our ship, or I want to.
No, let's jury-rig the Klingon ship to create a force field and
Around the orb.
Around the
Gotcha.
orb.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean your
yes.
tricorder's got enough power source to get up a if you want to pull the battery pack out of it, you can use that to
Power it, and then
a force field enough.
Yeah,
Sure.
and then use the Klingon computers to build.
I mean, the transporter room is not able to get a lock on it. There's some the room is.
Oh yeah, no, we can't get into that room with
it's
the
all
transporters
nonsense.
right now. So,
Yeah.
I was just gonna roll command control just to give him an assistant.
Yep. And so whatever we're doing here, what was the command control? Did you succeed at it?
It is 16, and I have rolled a 6.
Roll the 6. So you're going to create an advantage here, which is going to. How are you creating the assist from? Or is this Stephen Prince or Schofield?
Schofield, just
How is he helping the advantage here?
just giving suggestions,
Okay.
directing command, and stuff like that.
Cool. So it's just more like an order here. So you
Yeah.
tell them you got
Yeah.
5 minutes to figure this out
got
before we
this
got to
to do
bring
it.
you back.
Chip, chop,
so
chip.
He's the one that told us, let's do the force field.
you have what I want to say you have 6 intervals to solve. Each roll is going to cost 2 spaces on that track.
Now, the other 5 Klingons that were outside of the room, they've already been moved and teleported on board.
Stephen Prince has been taking care of that. He's been
Okay.
shuttling them off into the corner. When he got them all into the transporter site, they were beamed out en masse.
Excellent.
So they're being moved
Medical
over to sick
officer
bay.
Rumpel can take care of that.
So we need to jury rig the power, build the force, get the force field happening,
Yes.
get the remaining Klingons out of harm's way.
Yeah.
And as well as the other artifacts that are in the room.
So
Yes.
I only need
give
help
me-
with getting
give
the
me
the
an
jury rig.
engineer. Give me your task here to jerry rig power back to the ship and try and restore ship power.
Okay, so I'm going
And-
to use the same thing, which is engineering 5 and then control 10, so it's 15. And first one is an 8. Second one is a 13, so they both pass.
Okay, so the ship power is being restored. There was emergency power going. The computers were running, but now like full power is being restored to the ship. It was they had gone to auxiliary because the orb was beginning to drain their main reactor, and
Okay.
but in their attempt to try and counteract it, it made things worse. So ship's power is restored. You now have ability to create emergency force fields.
Could I also
around
have the
this.
ability, like, would I know, just kind of offhand, would I know the ability I can be able to raise shields for the ship?
Yeah, but if you raise shields on the ship, you can't beam off.
No, I know. I just want to know, like, as a possible solution later if we don't have enough time.
Currently, no, because the orb is draining power from the ship.
Oh, okay.
So you've restored power, but only long enough to get this containment unit going.
Okay.
You now have 2 more moves here before this ship is going to arrive to the horizon, and we're going to have to cut to the bridge and deal with that encounter.
So we've restored power, and then now we're rolling for the force field?
For the
Yes.
force field.
Okay. So same
So
thing?
how are you generating this force field, guys? Are you using the ship systems?
I think so, yeah. And we can use the battery from a tricorder.
Okay.
The
So then
attachment
once you
ability.
have it contained in a force field in this laboratory, how are you transporting it off the ship? How are you moving it off the Burrell? Off the Droxar.
I think if we can use the hybrid solution of what Conal said, like transport it to a lab within a containment unit.
But you can't transport the emergency force field
Yeah.
that's containing it.
We need a
you won't be able to get a
physical thing
lock
to contain
Yes.
it
if
and
it's
then
being
pull that off
held
with the
in
orb
shields.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be able to contain the unit, and you might be able to put it on a mobile platform, and then you can, like, put it in a box, right? Like,
Do you have enough? Is there enough power on the ship that you can beam a person off? Then
That's a good question.
I'll grab it.
You'll grab it?
With your hands.
You
Yes.
can. It has, yeah. That's a good question.
Spend an opportunity cost to get a pattern enhancer so they can keep a lock on you.
Yes.
And then they'll be able to get a lock on your signal and whatever you're holding.
Are you okay with that? This is something of my people, of my God.
I mean, I think it seems like a risky proposal. I'm not sure if we'll get you
It's
back.
a risky proposal, but we have a ship on the horizon. We are at...
Spend the opportunity
Yes.
cost,
Yeah,
and
I would say-
you get a pattern enhancer as part of your away team kit.
It's
and,
risky. I like it.
You put it on, you strap it in, you turn it on, and that's going to be daring, whatever
Yes.
that attribute is, daring
Yes.
and science.
Yep. I made both of them.
Okay, and you see the science officer straps that on. Two of you are watching, keeping the ship and the shields, and you grab hold of it. Schofield, you're on the ship.
Did I hear about this? That I'm gonna grab the fucking thing with my hands?
It's not Schofield doing it. It's the transporter chief. You're getting an assist from the ship.
Okay.
That's helping you with this role, which is the transporter. So
Yes.
sensors and engineering. You're the one on the ship, so I'll let you roll for the ship.
Oh, sure. Go for
There
it.
we go. Sensors, which I believe they are at 10, and engineering at 3. So I got to get under a 13. Wait, I'm only rolling 1, right? Because it's assist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go 10 under
Yes.
13.
Yes.
Sweet. So it works, but you've brought it over to the horizon,
Yes.
Oh no.
and it's beaming you into your I don't know. Do you want let's just say
containment lab.
directly to a containment lab.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the effects of the orb are going to immediately come back into play the second you beam aboard the ship. So you brought it in, and
Yeah. Before you beam me over,
Yeah.
get somebody to put an exosuit in the lab and knock.
so
yeah.
the
Beam me
two
down
of
to
you
the
back
planet.
on the ship, you see
Yeah.
the orb vanish.
Yeah.
And Bo is teleported back to the horizon, and sure enough, the 5 images meet back up into one, and he turns, and he starts just like shouting in Klingon and yelling, where are you? What have you done? And all of this is happening. And meanwhile on the ship, we'll get the containment unit, we'll put it in. You all rolled well, and you get in. You close the door real quick, and it's stabilized.
So it's there.
But it's inside, and you've got it shielded, and it's contained, and the effects aren't being felt outside of the containment unit.
Oh, that's tough.
Because I just
That was good. That was
there's
good.
going to be too much time creating a whole separate problem there. The ship is now coming within hailing range, and the configuration is not I haven't seen it before, but it's unusual. It doesn't seem to be its engines are giant golden sails that are coming out of it.
Could be Orion.
And it seems to be familiar to solar sails, again, Bajoran, but this is advanced.
Interesting.
Whatever this is not the same thing that Cisco made a few years ago.
Oh,
crazy advanced.
Which is just like basically like a ship that was harnessing solar winds.
gonna
to
ask
move
you
around.
about
theory for what's going on.
This thing is
do?
is more of on par with current technology, but
Okay.
still using sails to maneuver. And it's moving fast towards the Burrell. If you had failed the roll, it was going to put a tractor lock onto the Burrell
Shit.
and begin moving it away.
Okay. Keep an eye on the orb, and let me know as soon as you're figuring things out, too. I want to teleport the other 3 people, these 2 and the Klingon who's shouting at them, as well as the equipment that's in the room, like the tablets and the plants and shit that they've got, off that ship immediately, shields up. How fast can we do that?
It's done.
Done. All right.
So, difficulty 0, don't need to roll
cargo
for
bay.
it. That,
We got a
I
bunch
like
of
the
stuff.
idea, just teleport you immediately
Scene's
back
over.
to your helm
Yeah.
seat.
there's the ship coming towards you.
Hailing frequencies open.
I kind of want to throw it here. I'm going to spend one of my threat. It as it moves in, it fires some weapon at the Burrell bird of prey.
Oh, shit.
And with its shields down and it damaged from
just-
the radiation, you beam them out just in time for the ship to then just be just obliterated. And anything you got the tablets and stuff out of the science lab, it's gone. The ship's been destroyed.
4 remaining
and
Klingons.
Four
the
remaining
ship
Klingons, yeah.
places itself between you and the planet and hails the horizon.
Oh, good. And I was just be like, please call me first. Please call me and don't shoot me right now, please. Please? All right. Good afternoon. This is Captain Gavin Schofield of the USS Horizon of the Federation.
So at this point, your
How
senior
can I
staff
help you?
returning from the transporter room, they arrive on the bridge just as the view screen turns on.
I activate the engineering station.
And you see the on a screen turning up a face of a Bajoran
Oh,
on the
excellent.
thing, but not stern look. And the bridge that the background is it's all unfamiliar, and a uniform that seems unfamiliar, and that the only earring is there and that, and they demand that you return what has been stolen.
Well, and the only
gonna,
Bajoran
like-
on board is holding the thing.
Go down to the intercom. It's like, boop. Hey, Bo, if you could just get the.
Oh,
fuck
Bo's
out
on the
here.
bridge.
Okay.
I
Oh,
just
he's
said
on the
they- they- you all came
Wait,
off
is he
of
still holding the thing?
the senior staff.
No,
it's been contained in the
it's
lab,
contained.
Okay.
and with the pressing matter, senior staff should be on the bridge for this. And you all come out of the
Turbo lift?
the turbo lift as it happens. So the main characters are here for this encounter.
Bo, if you could get the fuck up here right now. There's a situation. Bo, if you could get the fuck up here.
Please, what are you doing?
So standing at the view screen it appears to be someone who looks Bajoran, and
Yeah.
like I guess I look at Bo. Bo's like shrugs.
Return what has been stolen.
Return that has been stolen.
Bo, do you have like history that you would know?
Lieutenant,
like,
do these uniforms of these people look familiar to you?
There should be no Bajorans out here. They're like,
If they are my people, they are not my people. Who are you, and what do you think is stolen?
so at this here, we can. They have no desire to answer your questions. They want you to give back what has been stolen. If you want to talk and negotiate, well, we have abilities to talk and negotiate that, and you can open a line of communication and roll for this with your command and your presence
I was gonna say, so
or insight.
diplomacy, always an option.
If you'd also like to
That's a
do quick
value.
scans or ask questions to me, I can reveal more details about them. But you can welcome them on board, and we can talk about what's been going on. We didn't know
what
there
the
were
heck is
Bajorans in the Shackleton
happening?
Expanse.
I don't think beaming them on board because they've already fired on a ship that killed 4 Klingons.
They fired on a ship that stole from us. We are defending our
Oh, I didn't say
Okay.
that out loud.
we're defending our
That's fine.
our ancestral land.
Okay.
Captain, may I suggest bringing them aboard?
Absolutely. I'm gonna try to use the diplomacy is always an option value that I have, and I'm gonna try to calm them down from being violently angry. Like, I can't imagine that they're gonna try a whole lot because our ship is like fucking 10 times the size of theirs. But I'm gonna try to use command and.
If your ship is scale 6, their ship is scale 3.
Yeah, so
Which
it's like- it's
the
like
solar
half the
sail
size
was
of
a
ours.
scale 1. It was
Yeah.
like the size of a shuttle or smaller.
Yeah.
This is closer to almost the size of the Defiant.
Yeah.
It's massive compared to.
Attempting diplomacy though, I would use command and then
And you can do a
what,
scan of the ship to do a more sizable
a presence.
ship of it. Yeah.
Yes.
So what was that?
Command and presence is 15. And then using a value, does that give me anything extra?
You
or
can
what
use
does
a
it do?
value to activate determination points.
Oh, okay.
And you can use focuses to give you advantages or an extra dice roll.
Okay. Do it. Focuses. Oh yeah, focus diplomacy. I will try that out. So
Advantages must relate to the nature of the task attempted, and it must be something that could logically result from the character's actions. Advantages lower the difficulty of a dice roll to a minimum of 0.
So I would take, if I use diplomacy, then that would lower the difficulty of whatever this is.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to try at 15. Both are under. And one of them is I rolled a 5 with my command of 5. Does that still count as an advantage, or?
Yeah, you create an advantage with that dice roll.
2 successes and an advantage, and then I'm going to use my focus on diplomacy to try and talk them down. I mean, first and foremost, I apologize for any inconvenience that we may have caused you. We were just here scanning for some strange readings that we were picking up, and we found the Klingon ship that was out there, which you've just cleaned up for us. That's nice. And we found a strange object aboard their ship. It appears to be of Bajoran nature. We're just studying it. We have no desire to steal or take this from its rightful owners. I would like to extend to you some hospitality if you would like to come aboard our ship so that we may share with you our comforts, and perhaps we can share in each other's knowledge to better learn.
If you use a focus, each die roll with an applicable focus that is equal to or less than the discipline being used scores 2 successes.
Oh, so then
you already had
that's how that works.
Even
So it doesn't create advantages when you get that. If you combine a focus with a dice roll and it gets under the discipline, you get 2 successes for it.
Okay, so 3 successes altogether.
Yeah, so that's
Okay, cool.
While he's doing the human blowhard thing, can I see...
While he's doing the human blowhard thing, let's resolve this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you see them and
I don't want to fight nobody.
he says that there'll be there'll be 3 of them available awaiting your transportation device.
Excellent.
And they close communications and they
shouting
remain
to dinner.
in that that posture that the ship is placed in between them and the planet.
Cool.
So what did you want to suggest?
So I didn't want to suggest. I wanted to see if there was anything on the screens or whatever behind them that could give me further information
Insight,
about what kind of Bajorans they are or
That's
not.
that's totally an insight.
If they
roll.
have markings or anything that matches the tablets, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay,
or
go ahead.
markings on the art.
So that's reason and science, I guess.
I don't
That's
say
who I am.
insight if it's bigger or if it's more.
Insight to
It's
be
more
more
the
in their
people,
own.
right?
Yeah, it's for the person on like
Oh,
if
okay.
they're telling the truth, what are they
Yeah.
hiding, what's really going on here.
I made it for both of them.
2 successes.
Yep.
Okay, so there's
doing pretty good, guys.
the answers are these are despite their appearances, there's nothing that feels Bajoran about them. The technology is it's not Bajoran. Something is off about this whole thing, and you're skeptical about who they appear to be, and they haven't claimed to be anything yet. They've just want what what is stolen, that it's theirs, that this is their land.
This is their thing.
Captain, I've been in situations before where I've been in situations before. So
We can just cut the scene to the briefing room now as they're brought in, and we can introduce them. So,
Well,
Yes.
Lieutenant Prince, if you could just, keep the shields up and keep an eye on them. Obviously, if they aggress, then return so, but not to a lethal fashion. Shoot to injure, not to kill. Ensign Armstrong, would you like to come along and learn some stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
all right, now,
Lieutenant Commander Monroe, if
Who-
you could bring him aboard the ship promptly.
Yes.
okay, so the
Aye, sir.
the entourage is beamed aboard, and they're brought into the observation lounge behind the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Works as a place for diplomatic meetings and introductions, and he walks in storming and demanding, why do you refuse to hand back what is stolen to us? We've destroyed the
Goodness.
aggressor, and we will destroy you too.
Let's not get to there. We have no intention of keeping the object. We just obviously if it belongs to you, then it belongs to you, and we have every right to, or we have every intention to return that. It's just that we don't know how it came to be in the possession of the Klingons. I assume that they had plundered it from the planet's surface. We want to make sure that if it is returned, it's returned in good condition, like that it doesn't harm you or anyone else the same way it harmed them.
What do you mean harmed them?
It appears to be damaged.
They demand to see it immediately. They seem concerned and worried that they're
I have no qualms with bringing them down to the science deck to have them have a look at it. What do you think?
Captain, I absolutely, I think this is important, but I also think it's important that we honor the traditional greeting between Bajorans.
Are you going to touch their ears?
I would.
Oh, he's...
So I would.
They go, and he goes to swat the hand away.
Oh.
And he looks down, saying something like, I'm not sure exactly how to word this, but they don't believe in that superstitious nonsense of their ancestors.
Then why does the artifact just interest you?
So they turn to it to explain. They learn from the artifact and they protect it. And they protect it from those who would steal from its knowledge and from what it gives. It can be used as a weapon as much as it can be used as a teaching tool. And they see you as another. They see you look like them, and seem surprised to see that members of their race have now finally caught up to being in space with the rest of them, and they have been. They refer to themselves as as Bantakan, not as Bajoran. And Bantaka is a spire on Bajor, where the secret city of Balal was buried. But anyway, they refer to themselves as Bantaka, not as Bajoran. And they're
an offshoot.
They have been guarding this and protecting it and keeping it secret
since it left Bajora.
And they must see it now, and they're really concerned if it's been damaged
Captain,
in any way.
May I lead them?
Escort them as you like.
So the two of you now, we're going to get to
this way.
Let's. This way. I want to throw a name their way. We've got. I'm an idiot. I don't have it printed. I'm just going to look up to Bree here for a mark. Can you roll? Give me a number and a name of someone who's listening in right now. I'm going to name them after. I'm going to name this Bantakan after someone in Discord from one of our Patreon people.
Smythe.
I should have told her how to do talk back over the headphones.
I'm just saying, Hastings wants to be someone evil real bad.
Hastings? Yeah. Hastings wants to be this person? They think they're evil?
Evil is just all we've been. The Discord is very...
Everyone wants to be evil.
The Discord is saying Hastings is such an evil name.
Okay.
That he gets typecast as being evil, so...
So, try and find a way to make it more of a Hastings isn't a particularly ancient Bajoran, so I want to Bajorarize.
Just throw a bunch of extra
Haas.
G's and
Just
H's.
go Haas.
Yeah.
Instead of Haste. Or Haste. Well, just Haste. So Haste. Haste and Bo in the turbolift heading down to the laboratory.
I'm heading down there too.
Okay. Do you want to be in the turbolift, or do you want
to stand awkwardly between us?
Yeah.
I wanted to have a bit here with just the two Bajorans, but
I'll just observe.
I'll let them go ahead, and I'll follow them in the turbolift after. I'll, as they say, I'll take the next one.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with the captain on that one. Then
the two, he's on.
If you try to enter their elevator, he'd be like,
I'm like,
shuffle you away.
This is in the turbolift is where he reveals he did not believe other Bantakans, he refers to not as Bajorans, other Bantakans would ever have reached the technology to reach us out this far. It's impressive that you've finally made us and joined us in the stars.
Not all of us are out here. There are many still back at home, trying to heal the wounds of the Kardashian occupation. But And this, he doesn't know or care. It's not his home. It hasn't never been. He was born, has served with a line going back millennia. Born into an order to protect. You say that you're a protector of this. Does that mean that the prophets have revealed themselves in a different way? Whether you believe or not. All this time, you still see them as gods.
Oh, no.
And he just shakes his head.
Oh,
just take us to the device.
I have a feeling I know who these guys are.
Oh no.
Or at least what they worship.
Yep.
I have learned to reconcile the difference between belief and what is practical, what is before you. There is a place in the universe for both. I am a man of science, and I believe that if this is such a danger, you could share more knowledge in case we come across another one. You could share more about our prophets instead of dismissing their existence.
Ooh,
I
that's
do not
good.
dismiss the prophet's existence. I dismiss their claim to deity.
They don't claim deity. We have bestowed that in honor of how awesome they are.
I love this.
You and your people may still believe that, but mine do not, and have not for a long time. We protect them, we serve for them, but they are not gods. And then the turbolift door opens and he walks out.
Stuff can do two things. It's okay.
And he heads off to the laboratory room now. I guess the engineer has a reason to be there as well. You're looking over stuff.
Yeah.
The orb is deteriorating. Since it's been brought, shards of it have been falling off into the bottom of the containment unit. The shields you've had to take more power to keep it up and going.
Yeah, I've had to build force fields to sort of kind of make sure, like...
Force fields around, force fields around.
Yep. A rotating around a force field. Yeah.
And
A
the
regular whirly-durly force fields.
and he sees whatever the Klingons did to it has taken this the orb, the device he refers to. If you ask for a name, it's was once called the Orb of Revelation, and it is those fools have taken it and their tools, their devices. It was old and it was weak, and now they've done and broken it irreparably.
When I held it, I did not feel its weakness.
When you held it, nothing happened either. There was no vision. There was no effect.
Yeah, I was going
to
to
it.
ask about that.
It
That's kind of weird.
you just grabbed it and it transported you over to the ship, and then you put it in a box. No one else pointed out, like, did you have a vision? Did anything supernatural happen?
And they may not have known either.
No.
That doesn't happen always.
Because the only person that's ever actually touched it would have been Cisco.
Well, and the Bajorans have a history of visions
Yeah,
and
true,
contemplating the
yeah.
orbs, and it's all built into their lores and stories. We're coming up next to this end of this episode, and there's not a whole much more I can do to bring things in. I feel a little bad that Brent didn't get to do anything.
It's all good.
I throw the containment field to Brent.
Haste.
Here, catch.
Keep away.
Haste says something to, they can help contain it, and they can show you how it can be done, and they hand over information to your technicians. But it, in its state it's in, it can't be returned to the temple. It's the damage has been done. It must be returned back to the source. Only there can it be repaired.
And where is the source? The wormhole?
And at this point, he looks at you as surprised, going, "The secret of the Celestial Temple is we would never have." And he seems to be concerned that this is enough knowledge that a complete stranger he's bumped into today would know about this. That this was something that they a knowledge of the source that they have been suppressing and hiding. Here on this far-off world.
Space is big. People learn stuff.
And so if you know where it is, then returning this there will, we can't fix it.
So bringing this back to the
wormhole.
To the wormhole.
That's what they want to do.
Okay.
That's dangerous.
So to be
even for
clear,
any
are
ship.
you saying that you want us to do it, or that's what you're going to do?
The ship they have is I mean, it took them generations to get where they are. It is a solar sail ship.
And
it
we
doesn't
have very powerful engines now.
It doesn't have. I mean, it can go to warp, but only off of like the flares of which is the reason why they settled in on the neutrino star. But if there's no way to reach it in time. This at the rate it's deteriorating, their ship would never get there in their lifetime, let alone the lifetime of this orb.
We could.
But the Horizon can get there in like less than a week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we
you'd have to pump some extra time. I mean, you're on the other side of the Federation.
Let's just say we'd have to pump it up to 11, but I think we could make it.
It would mean a lot to me if we did.
It would also mean abandoning the survey of the Shackleton Expanse.
Well, not abandoning, just a quick detour to the other side of the
to
Federation.
the other side of like
we went
the
the long
Milky
way
Of
around.
Federation space.
I gotta admit though, I am worried the fact that it's like they wanted to take it, and now they're willing. Like now they're like, oh
Well,
yeah,
'cause
you
it's-
guys can
They
help.
wanted what was
They
back,
just wanted it back.
but it's been damaged, it's been broken, and the
know
only
they just
option
can't
is
fix it.
to give it to the source. But the source, it's not an option to them because they seem like it's done, it's been destroyed, and their order has now come to an end, and he's willing. They'll take it back down to the surface of the planet, and they'll commune with it until it disintegrates.
Captain, I don't want us to go against orders. If you can get me back to
Narendra Station.
Narendra Station,
Well-
I can hitch a ride.
let me put it this way, Bo. Are we violating the Prime Directive by helping these guys out?
I'd almost think maybe.
Because they are post-warp travel a species, so we're not violating the Prime Directive.
No, they're like the species is, but they're not.
And the
they have no
Bajorans-
warp technology.
Well,
And-
no, they're
I'm right
aware.
here.
Listen,
I'm
there's,
right
there's
here.
no
In fact-
violation of Prime
No, not
Directive that
you,
have been tackled.
them.
No.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
know about other worlds. They know enough to be able to come
Yep.
in and blow up a bird of prey.
So-
they know about
all
the
right.
prophets and the orb. This is theirs.
And that's not the directive
They
I meant.
just
I meant the
left
survey
Bajor.
of...
They just left Bajor
Oh, yeah,
millennia ago.
No. So, 8 our allies, Bajorans are our allies, certainly, survey the mystery of HR 626. I believe that in the transportation of this device to the wormhole, we would be completing that job. Seek out signs of life and patrol for illicit activities.
I
we
mean,
are actually not violating any of our directives
And you're,
by completing
and
this
you're a
job.
commanding officer as well. I mean, it would be knowledge to the orbs that were stolen from Bajor, which this may or may not be. There's a standing. It's their cultural relics, and they should be returned to Bajor. So, if anyone's going to know answers about a broken orb, probably any of the Vedics or any of the people
Okay.
at Bajor.
Well, then I'm going to send a, space telegram back
Subspace
transmission.
message.
Yeah, like subspace transmission back to Timek and just let him know what we're doing. That our mission is extending us a little out of the way for a few days, and then we'll be back to what we are doing because we have found a Bajoran artifact way out of the way, and we are attempting to salvage it by bringing it to this location.
Before we go, I really want to know the name of this planet. I want to know more. Can you share more of that?
The planet is just Skellige is just a far distant, secure, secret place that they were searching for, a place that they could protect indefinitely. The secret origin and nature of this. There was some knowledge that they learned, the knowledge of how to upgrade their ships, the knowledge of a future where these orbs would be stolen. They saw potential futures that scared the Vedic, and so they created this order, built those ships, and left in secret. Didn't tell anyone they were leaving. This is not one of the 9. It's a 10th orb that was never mentioned before. The Orb of Revelation is not mentioned in anything.
Well,
and
it was pretty wacky.
they've been living there. I'm just there's no point at this point. I'll just tell you. And so they've been living. The reason this planet is nothing. It is hazardous to all life. The plants are poisonous and protecting it. If you had beamed down to the planet instead, you would have been dealing with all this thing, and you would have seen living quarters shielded under the surface. But the people on his ship are the last of his order.
How many of them are there?
A dozen.
A dozen?
Dozen. The ship was on par with the Bird
Did
of
we
Prey.
transport them all?
I was going to say,
So there's 3 that came over.
There's 3
The
that
rest
came
have
over.
remained behind.
the
But-
other 9, I'm sure we could make space for them on our ship
Oh yeah,
and bring them with us.
We're Galaxy class. We got like
Yeah, right.
thousands of guest quarters.
and
We're driving
and you
a
got some
flying
Klingon-
city. It's fine.
you got some Klingons on board that you can
I
drop
could-
off at Narendra on the way out.
Not only that, but it's like, I don't even need to drop off the Klingons. The ship's so fucking huge, if I just leave them to wander around the both of them, they'll never run into each other.
Yes, they will. We know how this works.
Narratively, they always will.
Fair enough. Yeah, it was just like, if I tell them, you
So
stay
that's-
to side
You
A,
stay on one side.
That's
you
who they
guys
are.
stay to
Stay on
side
the
B.
other.
But
You look at one side of the whales, the other
while
goes
while
over
this
here.
is happening, you can also that's their story. That's what this guy's sticking to. But that's just what I'm telling you. If you
Yes.
want to roll to find out what's really going on with this person and with what they're doing,
Absolutely.
That is such an insight roll. That is
Yeah.
definitely
Oh, for
an
sure.
insight roll.
Do it.
Yeah.
You know, would they be interested in coming on board and coming with us?
I got us. Yes, I made both of them.
okay, something doesn't add up though, and
Yeah.
it's up to you if you want to bring it up or not. But as a science officer, maybe it's something you mentioned to the captain. The signal from the space probes only showed up 2 years ago. These guys are claiming to have been here
A very long time.
since
It doesn't add.
since the golden age of the Bajoran culture. They claim to be an order almost 10,000 years old. They would have arrived at this planet when Earth was just figuring out written language, and have been there ever since. And it seems like their story is connecting all the dots, and they are
well.
sincere,
Yeah.
and their history matches, and it certainly appears to be an orb.
But the timeline doesn't match.
But the signal only showed up 2 years ago. What happened 2 years ago, and now it's damaged? So there's
Yes.
you
Could it be the
you
time
don't-
dilation from the proximity to the star?
Not so much. That's not a heavy part of Star
but-
Trek.
That's fine.
And this planet wouldn't be affected
Well-
in that serious of a degree. The
If they do want to come with us, then we'll put them under observation and
that's just what I'm telling
Yes.
to
Them
you.
confined to
Some
an
parts
area.
here to just,
you sign a
I'm probably
security team
BSing
to
you.
guard them.
Yep.
and
just assign them to an area of the ship, keep them quarantined. Like, not keep them in the prison, but like keep them within an area.
Why do we want to keep them on the ship, Captain?
You can bring them with us so that
you
they can see us
you
fix
can
the thing.
you didn't take extensive shuttle bays, so you won't be able to bring the solar craft on board.
I thought they wouldn't leave it.
But you can do some scans on it, learn more about their craft. Their order goes wherever the
orb
orb
goes.
of revelation goes. So if they consider themselves an honor guard, they consider themselves like an order of monks to look after. And they're of all ages, the crew, multi-generational. But the radiation from the star has, they were willing to just die on this planet and bury this orb and keep it there secret.
I'd say we give them that offer. You can come with us. You can't take your ship with you.
No, we can't take your ship, but we can take you with us to the location where we could hopefully repair the orb and then return you to a planet literally covered in people just like you. So exciting.
Captain Orb.
So they would have asked is if your ship can take them to the source as quick. They seem dubious that your ship has that kind of speed, but they
And it's so big, right? Isn't it great?
they're on they seem like they don't really trust the goodwill that you just are offering with an open hand. Like, what do you want to get out of this?
Tell Steve Armstrong, set a course, and then just have him look out the window.
But if we're setting a course for Deep Space Nine, that might be a good point to wrap up this third episode.
Yeah.
That does seem like a good point. Did you have something you want to tell me, though, in private?
Oh, in private, we can head that way. That's fine.
So
right.
in the typical dramatic TV fashion, right? This happens, and then it turns away, and then you get to lean in and
Yeah.
say something with the captain.
Yeah.
Helmsman, set a course.
Boop, boop, boop. Deep
Top
Space Nine.
speed. Deep Space Nine.
Captain, I understand that you believe in all good things, but I don't think this is one of them.
Oh, that's a good line. That's a great line.
Doesn't add up to you?
No.
All right, well.
They couldn't have been here. We couldn't have had the readings that we've received. It doesn't line up. Something else has happened.
Something happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, something has happened.
And there's a big question mark in this story that they're giving.
It may be that the temple has been here for thousands of years. That may be true.
But the orb's
something
only been
has
there for
revealed it in the last 2 years. So something else was going on. I suggest the reason why the Klingon was very upset about the Romulans being joining in on this is because they were doing something on that planet that maybe uncovered the temple, or I don't know. I'm making high guesses.
I like that. I like that insight there because, well, one, we still have the Klingons that we can ask about what was going on there, so we can figure out what the state was of the temple when they found it, and if they did steal it, and what was going on. So we can get information from the Klingons. Two, the orb may have been there with these people this entire time, but then something happened to cause those readings to bleed out and get picked up by our sensors, or they could be shape changers, and this whole thing could be a Dominion plot. Like, there exists a probability that, like, this is a ruse, and we're taking them exactly where we need to. So in the meantime, let's do some interrogations, ask some questions, get some information, and hope for the best, plan for the worst.
We've got a week.
Yes, we got a little under a week to make some...
They are not who they say they are.
Okay.
When we return to the next episode, I'm going to turn the investigation into the truth of the Bantakans into a task to spend time over the course of this week, meeting them, hanging out with them, getting information. As you succeed or fail, they will hit certain thresholds along that. And if we can reach the magnitude, let's say it'll be a magnitude 2. You'll need at least 2 breakthroughs in the next week. We'll do this in the next episode. I will maybe reveal a little more of the cards I'm holding close to my chest here about the truth of the Bantakans. Because I want there to be shifty eyes here. You're going like, this story doesn't. I'm fine letting you know. And then everyone can get involved. We can have like one at a time. You're all participating in like hanging out with one of these dozen, getting to know them. We can start naming them all.
Do you like pizza?
And showing them the holodeck and whatever, getting that on. And I'm sorry that I was gonna set it to they're charging up their weapons. I was gonna try and like hook you into a ship combat, but it's just like there's just no time for it.
Not only that, but 3 successes in diplomacy.
I printed out these cheat sheets, and as I keep looking, I'm realizing these 3 sheets are exclusively for combat, which we have not done any of in this game.
It's fine.
So maybe
we're Starfleet.
We'll figure something out for the finale, but. You set course. You drop off the Klingons at Narendra Station with the medical corps.
Ask them questions first.
You want to ask? You want to ask some questions?
Yeah.
We'll resolve that in the next episode.
That. Yeah, I was gonna say we'll get that.
But
next
you
episode,
send your mission to Mech,
yeah,
and I'll have I'll give their response to that. Responses aren't that delayed in the 24th century, and then we'll plot a course
we'll go from there.
Cool. So we got one more episode left in Star Trek Adventures. We're all going to wrap up, and this other planet here. I'm glad we gave it Officer Rempel. We leave behind the Class M planet of Volceris, which I had actually put some work into here, but you seem too interested in the mystery hook that I throw in there.
Sorry.
It's fine. It was entirely possible. This was my Prime Directive conundrum storyline.
Oh yeah,
that we never went down, but we just haven't had time. There's just no time in 4 hours.
This game I'm gonna
hold on to this, and we might use this if we ever
show.
Play through the game another time on what
come
to do.
Back to
I'm okay if this
USS
becomes
Horizon.
maybe a long form.
This was a really cool the Prime Directives thing that I came up with was like, oh, I'd like to see how they solve that on the actual show, because I was like, I don't know the answer to this, and you're going to be stuck in a crap kind of moment, you idiots kind of moment. So I'm gonna keep. I'm just gonna turn it upside down so you can't see it. But we're now knee deep in the Skellige story plot, which was the Orb of Revelation.
Yes.
if we'd had more time, and I'll talk about this. You know what? I'll tell you what we would do if I had more time in our mid-brief. If you're a Patreon supporter, we're not done the campaign yet, but we are done recording for the night, and we're going to record episode 4 on another time. So we're going to record a little sort of middle of the campaign debrief about what we've enjoyed up to this point, and so that's going to be up on Patreon like today if you're listening to this.
Sweet.
We've got one more episode before our finale for this arc, and then we'll wrap it up with a bow. If we want to come back and do long form, there's I was telling a few of you about the living campaign that Modiphius is doing. That might be something real to look into. Mention that in the mid-brief as well.
I'm loving this so far. This is great.
It's interesting that there are dice rolls, but not a lot. It's been, especially on this side of the table, it's been a lot of, I point at Velvet and Conal, a lot of role play going on with your character. You seem to be chewing on the characters you've created.
I'm
it's just
loving
so funny.
it so far.
I was half expecting this to be like Pathfinder, where it was just going to become another comedy show where you're going to be like, can my ship have a mustache? But it ended up being like, no, let's actually let's dig in.
Yeah.
And so thank you. For Game Master for our Star Trek game, I've been trying to figure things out as the omnipotent Q, Justin Ecock here, and followed with my crew of the Horizon. We'll start on my right, your left with our chief engineer,
Lieutenant Commander Adam Monroe, played by Steve Saylor, a.k.a. the Blind Gamer.
And I am Ensign Steve Armstrong, your helmsman, Brent, the Closet Geek.
Yeah, I'm going to have to actually give you some ship control roles to actually fly the ship around. I have you specifically all written up for ship combat that we just haven't gotten to. No. Every game I play, there's one player I don't have time for. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Maybe we'll get it to next time.
Maybe we do it. There's only one more.
I'm Captain Schofield. Captain Gavin Schofield. Of the USS Horizon, played by Conal MacBeth, better known in the nerd community as Toronto's greatest supervillain and evil genius, Dr. Terrawat.
I've been your science officer, Lieutenant Lassabo. I'm Velvet Duke of the Dandies. We do holodeck follies. We'll see you around the neighborhood.
And you know what? It just occurred to me, what the hell? This is the end of an episode on the show. So if that mission ends, we're going on to a second mission now with the orb. Everyone who challenged one of their values is going to get a chance to now hit their milestone and level up their character, which you can choose to upgrade. We'll do this between episodes. Upgrade your ship, upgrade our support characters that we've introduced, which are 2 of them, and or you can upgrade your own self by either writing down a new focus, a new evolved value, or redistributing your attributes or disciplines.
Cool.
Up by 1, down by 1 kind of thing. But we'll do that. So that's 2. And for our engineer and helmsman, your values too. You can. I got them written down here. I'm gonna try and find a way to challenge you in our final episode.
Cool.
We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the last episode of Star Trek. Thanks for joining us. Take it away, Justin. Star Trek Adventures returns in 2 weeks' time with new episodes by the Terrible Warriors every Tuesday and Thursday. If you return to us on Thursdays, Tiff Compton is continuing her inaugural trip as a GM through a song of ice and fire. Our hired mercenaries have found themselves face to face with a conspiracy they never saw coming, making choices that will have an impact on the world you all know. Oh, did you think this was going to be a story that was going to sidestep the canon? Oh, nope, not at all. We're taking the canon head on. In the 3rd episode of A Song of Ice and Fire, Blood and Gold. On Tuesdays, alternating with Star Trek Adventures, Mike the Birdman Dodd is playing Sailor Moon Thunderheart. It's the last episode of the campaign. There is one great enemy they must defeat before the end of the hour. Can the Sailor Scouts and their new allies come together to save the world? Only if they learn how to work together. And on Thursdays, alternating with A Song of Ice and Fire, the final episode of Blades in the Dark. Derek, the GM, he's reeling from betrayal from within his own ranks. One of the players has outdone themselves once again, and Derek has to make up the last episode on the fly because they just took his carefully crafted plot and punted it out the window like a soccer ball. The finale to Blades in the Dark next Thursday. Follow us on Twitter at Dice Warriors, where you can be up to date with all of our updates. You can join our Discord channel and hang out with us. Come play some Destiny 2. That game's cool. And, of course, if you like what you hear and you want to be a part of supporting this show and an independent Canadian broadcaster, consider supporting us at patreon.com/Terrible Warriors. Every $1 you spend goes into the show and into supporting this show and making it be even bigger and better and more interactive every day. Today's Terrible Warriors and your Starfleet officers of the horizon were Conal MacBeth, Velvet Duke, Steve Saylor, Brent Morris, and Justin Ecock. And we will see you again in Star Trek Adventures in 2 weeks' time, right here on the Terrible Warriors.